So, the next beer book we're going to launch then is David Ashford's XARAGMATA. I'm really pleased to have this book as well. It's well, I think David is the man to talk about it, but it's a sort of conceptual piece that we're particularly glad to have. Anyway, David. I need to introduce you, David, because everybody knows who you are.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for organising an amazing day, and thanks for producing a really beautiful book. It's really exciting to see it. Like a physical object, a bit of object fetishism right there. I should point out that this poem the poem kind of consists nowhere on the page. It's kind of it's outside that. It's what happens when you read through it and try to put it together. And like I say, so the notes are kind of part of it as well. At the back of it, you have pages and pages of cranky, semi-bogus scholarship to kind of just make things a bit more fun. This is the opening quote. The fates invented the 7 letters: alpha, beta, eta, tau, iota, upsilon. Others say Mercury took them from the cranes in flight. Those letters they form as they fly. This guy is Julius Hyginus. According to most histories, the material translating these poems should not exist. Sumerians invented writing around 3200 BCE. The alphabet was invented later by the Phoenicians around 1050 BCE. This is usually believed to have been derived from a Proto-Sinaitic script and used from around 1850 BCE. The Vinci, or Danube, or Old European symbols do not conform to what we thought we knew of the past. Found on household artifacts across Southeast Europe, the symbols are in the wrong place and from the wrong time. The oldest of these artifacts being a wooden disc, carbon dated to 5260 BCE. From northern Greece, the symbols proliferate with the rise of the Vinci culture in the lower Danube, and can then be seen to spread north on the shores of the Black Sea with the rise of the Hukatemi Trypillian culture from 4800 BCE. They're sometimes called proto-writing. The linearity of the Old European script, plus the limited number of symbols employed, must make this designation dubious. The first being a feature consistent with true writing, the latter with the alphabet and syllabary. In fact, some Vinci signs look more like characters in Greek, Etruscan and Indus than the ostensible originals of the latter in the Phoenician script. This apparent, perhaps deceptive familiarity encourages often wild speculation. This poem participates in this creative paranoia, beginning with the assumption that a half-dozen basic symbols represent vowels, that additional marks modifying these represent consonants, a semi-syllabary, like the later Iberian script, but part 2 of the as yet incomplete alphabet, those 6-7 letters that Robert Graves believed Blasgai possessed before King Cadmus brought the Phoenician characters to Greece. So I'm just going to skip to part 2, the spiritual world. In the Goddesses and Gods of Old Europe, the language of the goddess, civilization of the goddess, and the living goddess, celebrated Soviet archaeologist Maria Gimbutas argues that prior to the invasion of patriarchal Indo-European peoples, there existed a European-wide matriarchal culture. Well, the conflation of so many varied cultures strikes me as no less reductive than previous structuralist readings. I was fascinated by certain passages relating to the bird goddess that suggested the sirens, the harpies, and the fates were once one and the same thing. In Plato's Republic, Gimbutas points out, the sirens are not, as in Homer, demons merely, preying upon strangers, but a part of the fabric of creation, occupying a place on each of the coloured discs that together make up a strange object resembling a spindle whorl, said to represent the physical universe. Plato's description of the latter recalls other objects in Greek writings that attempt to explain musical harmony. Not by chance, these resemble the early forms of siren being developed in 19th century Europe by scientists such as Hermann von Helmholtz to investigate physical properties of sound. This work provided the basis for experiments in synthesized music in the next century by pioneers such as Delia Derbyshire. This section celebrates this woman's life and work, just as the previous poem is a tribute to sculptor Barbara Hepworth. Much of the found poetry featured in this part is taken from the Delia Derbyshire archives, recently put together by the librarians at the University of Manchester. Spindle whorl. Turdus viticulture, 5200, 4900 BCE, a spindle whorl from Lipensky Veer 3 in the Iron Gates region of the Danube. 1. 12 sine square wave generators, JSON, associated with keying unit and adjustable decat unit, workshop construction. High stability decade sine wave generator, Muirhead Wigan. Sine wave generator with frequency modulation. Square wave shaper, Muirhead. Zither and guitar with electromagnetic pickups. 2. Reverberation plate, ENT, the remote control, 4 high, low pass filters with 9 cutoff frequencies, BBC. Variable frequency response control unit, BBC. 3. Tape recorder, 7.5 and 15 IPS, EMI, BTR2. 3 tape recorders, 7.5 and 15 IPS, Philips EL 3503. Tape recorder, 7.5 and 15 IPS, Ferrograph. Disc playing equipment, BBC. 8-track tape recorder with continuously variable speed from 0 to 40 IPS, uses 1-inch tape, levers rich. Specially designed mixing controls with 20 channels, each with preset attenuator, / 8 channels are normally associated with 8-track tape recorder. The remaining 12 low-level inputs channels with switching facilities, making available 3 types of artificial reverberation, each channel independent, or switch to either of 2 group faders associated with different filters. Remote control, 4 tape recorders and acoustic foldback facilities included. 4. Oscilloscope, Corsair, double beam, peak program meters, BBC. 5. Loudspeakers, BBC. I was there in the Blitz. There are 4 warnings. The red, the grey, the black, and my love for abstract, the air raid sirens. That's a sound you hear and you don't know the source of. Nothing surely can have less pretension to the name of musical sound than the solitary snap of a quill. But when that quill is held to the teeth of a wheel whirling, rate 720 teeth passing per second, the sound G in L. Equal in sweetness to the organ or flute bird. Thursday 23rd. Beautiful bird babies. Technique. Warp used to demod PA stab C2K over CS. Used to give different warping notes for CU os, 4 os in suitable range keyed fairly randomly with ATS 3 dex 4 app. This is basic. First stage treatment is replaying at half speed B/W with PH tempo rep loop, pitch and major. Second stage, half speed, agar plus PH 15 FB, etc. Theory. V changing basic frequency but controlled for glissando os. Ditto plus additional tempophone rises. Incidence of notes, ditto, pattern, 1 sec swing to warp, plus temp loop length, ditto, loudness, but within limits, attack and decay, and with pattern, constant rate of glissando. Mathematically expressed, the distance of the vibrating point from its mean position at any time is equal to the sine of an arc, proportional to the corresponding time, and hence the form of simple vibrations is known as the curve of sines. And this property of making the liquid sound, they are thus designated sirens. Let the resonance chamber cap the prime with some upper partials of the compound tone, and the quality of tones produced resembles one of the vowels of the human voice. A, noir, E, blanc, I, rouge, U, vert, O, blue. In his Handbook der Physiologischen Optik, Professor Helmholtz gives the following analogies between the notes of the piano and the colours of the spectrum. F sharp, end of the red. G, red. G sharp, red. A sharp, orange red. B, orange. C, yellow. C sharp, green. D, greenish blue. D sharp, cyanogen blue. E, indigo blue. F, violet. F sharp, violet. G, ultraviolet. G sharp, ditto. A, ditto. A sharp, ditto. B, end of the solar spectrum. The scale therefore extends to about a fourth beyond the octave. Translator. So coloured, this object like a spindle whorl, layers of track over each disc, but differing in thickness, 1 1/3 times that of the second and twice that of the third, i.e. constituent musical tones. On the edge of each disc, a siren at one, moving the whole revolution, producing singular harmony in concord. Sun is sound. These raw elemental sounds were then intricately cut, shaped, filtered, and manipulated in various ways until, finally, the separate tracks were ready to be mixed and synchronized. Low blocks of S in the S-modulated, sine waves and wobulator, filtered to even out intensities. Low-rate wobulator swing. Also in harmonic chords, burial bashes, lung, low, slow, cross from one to the other, same frequency band. All sounds outwardly static, but a very slow intensity, vibrato, breathing rhythm for seconds per second, and inwardly moving, changing by using wobulator, and also by changing filtering, audio batten and PEUs, colored silences, colored screens, continuous sound shaped into single notes for comment, sounds for phrase pre-echoed to be comparable with speech quality, and come naturally out of continuous sounds, movement of sounds within static, surface obtained by beats, wobulator, altering filtering by several Mobius loops running together, fading in and out joints, from slowed down sounds, inharmonic, cymbal, bell, echo plate. Main technique for organizing lung continuous sounds, 3 Mobius loops, very long, with lung fades. If necessary, work at double speed. Roof over basic low sounds, high shafts of color, and continuous high dreamy sound. Dawn plain sound, words, color, stained glass windows, sunlight, colored dreams, clouds, etc. Being chased along corridors, downstairs, across fields, falling. Breathing, heartbeat, pillow, sun, murmuring voices, lung mixes, voices out of nothing. The siren song has not yet been rendered, powerless reduction to condition of art. I'll speak someday of that dark nativity. Men and bulb, their perimeters true. How many time?
Another 5.
5, okay. Okay, I'm going to read this one. This one is it's beautifully ugly, which is why I like it. Let's go read this out. So this is where the poem begins, really. I recognise certain symbols on the bread seal, star signs inverted so as to appeal the right way around when it's stamped onto the bread. The thought of a culture that was committing its religious mysteries to pastry appealed to me. What had struck me most forcibly about these cultures was the extent to which the domestic and the sacred had not yet been compartmentalised. And so this poetry to profound scripts. The idea is that it has to be functional. There's no false divide between star signs, musical notation, writing, and mathematics. If there's truth in W.H. Auden's idea that poetry makes nothing happen, this is because it's something beyond the obvious meaning. Poesis means making. And this section is taken entirely from the work of another cultural hero, and what this is a sort of anti-Poundian paradiso culture heroes. And this is the American Ada K. Dietz. Her algebraic expressions in handwoven textiles, 1949, which, if you haven't encountered it, is a great read. Illuminates Cucuteni Tropilian culture, 4,800 to 3,000 BCE, extending from the Carpathian Mountains to the estuaries of the Dniester and Dnieper. Taking the cube of a binomial, let x equal one unknown and y equal the other unknown. The square of the binomial, x plus y to the power of 2, breaks down to x squared minus 2 xy minus y squared. The first number indicates the number of unknowns, 2 a binomial, 3 a trinomial. The second number indicates the power of the equation, 2 a square, 3 a cube. The resulting equation, x, 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 y, x, y, 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 is each unit 1 and is the basis of the draft. If the equation is applied to a plane weave, x is given one color, one texture value, and y is given another. Color principles will be used in selecting colors. One thread is substituted for each x or y, with the pattern repeat being 8 threads. The overshot weave is one used muchly by hand weavers. The x may be given the value of 2 harnesses as 1 to 2, and y the value of 3 to 4. As many as 4 unknowns may be used with 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 1 to 4 being the harness pairing assigned. Should 2 threads have been used for each part, a 16-thread pattern repeats. The threading draft may be used for overshot or a twill, opposite, or other tread link may be used. The cube of binomial was the first to suggest itself to Miss Dietz and was starting to work with the idea in 1946. The same cube of a binomial, x plus y to the power of 3, seems to be the approach used by most applying Miss Dietz's ideas to textiles. Unless, according to Helen Norton's expression in the Louisville Courier Journal, you end up with the wrong answer instead of a pair of drapes. Here are the details. X cubed plus 3 times x squared times y plus 3 times x times y squared plus y cubed. The resulting equation, x x x x x x y x x y x x y x y y x y y x y y y y y is a 24-unit one. These 24 units will form the basis of writing the pattern in any weave. The cube of binomial, x plus y cubed, can be expanded or can be used in combination. As Miss Dietz was formerly a maths teacher, don't you imagine she was happy when she wrote that equation, tossing in an extra xy, and then, as that man on the radio was spelling something backward, writing the equation backward? Wrong answer? No. Joking aside, Miss Dietz shows 4 of the possibilities to be found in the cube of binomial. I found it possible to write a draft for any formula as long as there were sufficient combinations of harnesses to substitute the terms of the algebraic expressions. As patterns grew and possibilities opened, I found that mathematics gave the beautiful space divisions, proportions, and individuality of pattern which the artist strives to achieve. Personalities back of an idea are of import. You feel you know Arne K. Dietz, weaving the rug in x plus y cubed on Brunhilde, with Ruth E. Foster standing there with the yarns. If you have pioneer blood, I think you will go from the frontier as Dietz has shown you. Thanks very much.